No, sweetie, it wasn't your fault. After I'd reset you up, I was flying you around, enjoying the time that we spend together as I always do, and I had you in acro mode and you were doing flips and all sorts. It was much fun. But then I landed you after laughing my arse off so much at the noise you were making. Woo! And tipped you over and your head came off.
Wait, Helihead, what are you up to?
Making excuses.
Well, do you think when you finished that you could get your chopper arse into that flight simulator of yours and create some DCS content for your loyal subscribers that have been hanging around for God knows how long waiting for it?
All right.
Some of your loyal RC helicopter followers may even find it interesting.
All right.
There is obviously a correlation of subject matter that has relevance to this channel.
All right.
And it is important to diversify your content, bearing in mind your clear and very overt, obvious and slightly strange love for all things helicopters.
All right.
Well, hop to it then.
Hell's fire, 2 tigers.
Welcome you legends and heliheads, you choppers and stick bangers, you twizzle whizzlers, you beautiful subscribers. Look at that, 4,350 absolute nutters out there. Welcome to this video on Helished. Now, look, this channel is all about documenting my journey in the radio-controlled community and my general love for helicopters. But 90% of the content of the 250 odd videos that I've done has been on radio control. And for those of you who are subscribed to this channel waiting for DCS World content, thank you very much for hanging around. And for those of you who are not from the DCS world and have no idea what I'm talking about, well, why don't you stick around and find out some more. This introduction is going to be at the beginning of every video that I do for the helicopters in DCS World. So if you've seen this drivel before, simply go straight to the flight in the helicopter. And if you haven't seen this introduction before, please allow me to give some information up front. It started in the mid-90s with something called Su-27 Flanker, Interlock-on Modern Air Combat, Flaming Cliffs 2, Flaming Cliffs 3, DCS World, and even now there is another version, Flaming Cliffs 4, I believe, or Flaming Cliffs 2024. So, you know, it has been around for a long time. Not just in my view, but in pretty much anyone who's anyone's view who knows anything about flight simulation, you will not get more accurate than DCS World. Even some commercial flight packages and training, particularly in the military, use DCS World. This is not a game.
Have I gone mad? You're entirely bonkers.
It's not treated as a game, it is treated as a simulation. What's the difference between a game and simulation? Well, that is a road to nowhere, and we could talk for hours on that. But look, I'll tell you what I think it is in my view. If people are willing to go out there and spend thousands, even tens of thousands of pounds to increase their immersion when it comes to a particular hobby, then in my view, that ain't no game. And I'm no different to many others out there who have sunk thousands and thousands of pounds into my immersion of flight simulation. And I'll do another video on that at some point. My credentials when it comes to DCS World and all the various previous iterations, to be honest with you, look, I've been around for about 20 plus years in this hobby and run VFSs. I was an ED tester, I've given advice to ED, etc. I'm a former military man, as most of you know, of 26 years. I've run a virtual fighter squadron, of which it was very elitist, and you were either a soldier, or an airman, or a pilot in real life. You know, I've got enough credentials to be able to provide some form of content for you. And if you take away one or two things from what it is I say, then you know, I'm confident enough to say that I'm not a prima donna. There's no Dunning-Kruger effect going on. You know, I've been about. The final thing I want to say is about expectations. Now, I have no doubt that most of you, if you're still listening to this, will agree with my point when it comes to expectations. If you are a helicopter pilot in real life, then you may jump into any sim and you can then refer to it as either realistic or not. If you are not a helicopter pilot, and I'd say actually a real pilot as well. If you're not a helicopter pilot, then your expectations are irrelevant. You must inspect and not expect. Inspect, because you have no experience of which to fall back on to make an expectation. Now, your expectations on the inspection of a sim may well be higher depending on the experience you've got with helicopters. I have spent a quarter of a century in the British Army, thousands of trips in helicopters. I know what it feels like in a helicopter, in a Chinook when it's going sideways. I know what it's like to go Mac bloody plenty in a Lynx going over a rural countryside. I know what it's like to stagger onto a Chinook with 100 pounds on your back and stagger off it. I know what it's like to feel sick in a Huey. I know what it's like to get burnt by a Wessex exhaust. I know what it's like to feel that you're going to fall out the seat in a Gazelle. I know how cavernous a CH-53 is. I know how small a Cobra is. And I know how amazing the Apache is, particularly the Westland Apache helicopter 64E. I also know what it's like to have the security provided in the very nice handshake that is extended by the Apache when it's 100 foot above your head, engaging people running around in sandy places trying to kill you. So I've got a fair bit of experience when it comes to helicopters, and you will not get more accurate, in my view, bearing in mind I'm not a pilot, than DCS World. My inspectation, if there is such a word, which there is now, my inspectation is relevant. Right, that's it. Let's get on with it. So let's jump in the pit.